Welcome back to the Dust Storm, presented by Ethos Studios. I'm Ben Molini. I'm your Dungeon Master, as before, as usual. And we have Kira and Ranch joining us here as Shamara and Orden, respectively. When last we left our heroes, they were at a decision point. So, as I recall in our last session, you had found your way to the Starlight, staggering in through the Dust Storm. You had found some accommodation there, a place that was kind of bizarrely well appointed still, as if it was being tended by an absent caretaker. And in fact, even Shamara thought that she was welcomed in by a woman who was no longer there on second inspection, but that of course became clearer later on. You guys had found some rooms in the company of these other two travelers, Vuzaz and Engrog, and settled down for the evening after just exchanging some pleasantries and maybe a brief story or two. During the night, things had gone somewhat awry. It's not exactly clear the order of events in how they began, but it is clear that some creatures came up from below. The precise mechanism for that is a little grisly, as you guys have heard but not seen. But basically, the woman, the proprietor, had reappeared and presented herself, you might say, and made a simple business proposition saying that in these times she was less interested in silver and more interested in an older sort of currency, which actually your well, I won't say roommates, but which Vuzaz and Engrog had actually elected to pay for everyone there. That was an agreement that had already been reached. Also, when she came up from wherever below she had been, evidently some little miscreant creatures followed her. They are the undead, not of the particularly dangerous variety, but where there's one, there's often more. And you guys had to, I mean, at some peril, had to actually break those things apart and smash those chittering skeletons back down into their component parts just to ensure your own safety. You were not unscathed, but generally not seriously harmed, and had a conversation with each other as well as with Vuzaz and Engrog and this woman, Tiri. And she was pretty transparently a vampire of some kind. And then after that conversation, the two of you had talked to your new companion Belneil for a little while, and he basically just put it towards you that he needed to get to the city. He needs to get to Hytos, and that can happen the way he was planning to go, over land, although he says that he has seen literally hundreds of those weird, terrifying crab skull things chasing him across the wasteland. Or, now, as a potential alternate route, you could go underground. It might be a slower route. It's almost certainly a less direct one, but it has the advantages of being not predicted by Belneil, and so certainly, presumably not by his pursuers. And, of course, judging by the creatures that have just emerged from down below, that also has its perils. You guys had had a discussion, you were going to rest, and I believe that Shamara at the time had expressed a pretty strong preference to continue above ground, but that's yet to be fully decided.
On it.
Okay. So
yeah, I had a dream of just dropping down the bathroom.
That's right.
Really, I just couldn't stop thinking about it.
Cannonballing down the latrine.
Yep. So.
Seems so appealing. All right. So as we come back, you guys had all gone back to your respective rooms to get what sleep you could after being rattled awake so unpleasantly. And let's say Shamara, odds or evens?
Odds.
All right. Orden, you wake up. You'd kind of half woken up a couple of times, and pretty much the pitch dark of the room. But so to that end, I guess I presume you hadn't kept a candle lit all night. So let's do that. You're no longer shedding light, or what? Meant for you not to be shedding light. And then There it goes. All right. Keep thinking it's going away. Anyway, you wake up. You are in the still in the pitch dark there, and there's not not a creature was stirring. It is preternaturally silent here, with the only exception being the moaning of the wind outside, which sounds like it's just a normal gusting across the wasteland, not the cacophonous roar of the storm that you had fled from the previous night. There's really no way to tell what time it is or what else is going on, but everything seems quiet. What are you doing?
Do I feel like pretty well rested? Can I I've slept for a good amount of time?
Yeah. You wake up naturally, not because anything is, threatening you or
trying to kill me.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna light the candle, so I want you to put that back up there if you can.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Perfect. No worries. All right. Let's see.
God, I light a candle.
There you go.
Okay. I want to go through. Just check my stuff real quick.
Sure.
Just like tally stuff, make sure like nothing's missing, no one came in through the night or anything, and then kind of get it prepped to leave. And then after that, I'll open up my door.
Okay. Just in the flickering light of your candle, you go through your pack, normal belongings, in that kind of way that when everything is really quiet around you, if you're in a silent room and other people are sleeping nearby, you have the natural instinct to just do everything softly and kind of quietly. But you do a quick inventory of your things, everything seems in order, and all right, you pick it up, open the door. Yeah, hallway's empty.
Step out here, and then I believe Shamar's room is all the way right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do the knock, the 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
1, 2, 2. And then wait for her to come on out if she hears it.
Shamara, you would, you know how it is when you're sleeping naturally and you kind of like half wake up once or twice, you're still kind of tired, roll over and fall back asleep. So it's not particularly shocking, and it doesn't pull you out of any deep sort of sleep when you hear that like space that you guys had agreed on as your shared signal.
Okay. That really happened last night.
Yes, it did. Can I come in? Then
Yeah, she opened
Go
the
in.
door.
I'll go in and then kind of sit on the bed like without asking, just in that like sibling type way. We're like, cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm hanging out in your room now.
All right. Shamar, he carries a candle in, which to you just kind of splashes some color along the walls, and him makes you blink a little bit, but doesn't really change your ability to see the room.
How'd you sleep last night?
Well, just as I'm relaxing and drifting off to sleep, I remember where we are, but that it's better than most of the other places we've been,
Well, where we're going?
or where we're going.
Right.
And as I lay there, I realize I shouldn't be as afraid of the darkness as my initial reaction was. I think that above ground is just what we're used to, and the world is changing, and maybe we'll find a different perspective down there.
Like the way your mind works. Yes, something new, something positive.
You always find a way to adapt. I'm sure we'll
Well, I don't have a choice. I gotta follow you. Gotta see the bright side of things if I can. But
even
I'd
in the
rather-
darkness.
even in the darkness,
There's some scraping and footsteps out in the hall, the creak of a door, and then footsteps that come over kind of toward the end of the hall. And Belneil pokes his head in through the door, still kind of ajar. And he says,
Belneil.
"Thought I heard you."
wave him on in.
As good a
You're up,
warning
then.
as any to follow a dwarf underground.
He grimaces. He says, "Is that what we're doing then?"
Well, Looking at it at first, it seems like the more dangerous choice, but if what's waiting for us up here is another army of those, then I'm good at fighting the dead.
Aye. Oh, you both done very well last night. Thanks again for that, but
Well, he's just good at fighting anything.
he kind of acknowledges that with a nod. He's, bittersweet, you know, going back underground. I feel as if I should be better acquainted, but I'm just not. Gaps in the memory, you know, like I was saying. He doesn't sneeze. I sneeze.
No worries.
Alright, yeah, but so he just shifts around kind of uncomfortably, and then he says, but it's bloody decent of you, just to be helping me get to Hytos anyway, so whatever path you want to take, I'll join you.
We talked it over, and we're going underground with you. If you know how to work your way down there, it's fine by me.
Alright.
You're not gonna forget how to be underground, though, right? Nothing in the memory.
Those memories are deeper. No more than you'd forget how to look up at the sky. So,
You'll be able to tell direction under there.
as well as the next man, I expect. Has more to do with keeping track of the ways that are open to us, really. We won't be tunneling, of course. Have to follow whatever caverns are down there.
I'd like to head out as soon as possible. I'd rather not stay honestly, another hour here.
Aye. Quite so. And if I'll...
Anybody hurt at all? Everybody's doing okay? I'm just gonna
Belneo kind of shrugs. He seems alright.
like give you a quick pat down. You haven't even been hit yet, have you?
Addressing Warden?
Yeah,
Oh,
you have.
here and there, but can barely feel it. Can't
She,
show my weakness around here.
she knows his wounds. I do not right now.
Okay.
But
Are you, I mean, visibly injured there, Ranch?
No.
yeah, I think we're all.
I'm all good.
Alright. Well, Belneo nods. Just grab my things then. Well, there's nothing for it. It's a bloody foul way down. And then he, just kind of shrugs, opens the door back up, and, turns to go out. And back to his room. Clearly getting his things together. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, getting my things together, tidying up behind myself a little bit.
Sure.
I'll kind of. I want to go over and close the door real quick, and then kind of in a hushed tone. Sister, when we're down there, I know we're helping this guy, but it's you and me first. You understand? Nothing comes between us.
Always.
Always. And then I'll head to my room and
Hey,
pack my stuff up. Oh,
a man paid with his blood for us to stay here last night. I'm gonna go check on him. I'll be fast.
well, just yell if anything.
Roger that.
Head back to my room.
Or I just want to rap on the door.
Okay.
couple times, just gently.
There's a brief pause. You hear the sound of some movement inside, and then the door opens. It's very dark in there, but you can see for you it's not hard to see in there, but you can see the form of Engrog laid out on the single bed that's in the room, and Buzaz still in his well-appointed suit, looking a little bit rumpled with some circles under his eyes, is standing at the door. He's looking not quite right at you, but a little bit off, like kind of just like at this point in your face, like he can tell where you are, but maybe not, see well enough to really look you in the eye. But he's looking up in your direction as you stand there, and he...
Vizaz, it's Shamara. I
Yes.
want to thank Engrog for what he did last night, and see if I can be of assistance in his recovery.
He is indisposed, he says, kind of looking over his shoulder at the prostrate form in the bed in the dark room. He will be for some time.
May I?
And he just kind of raises a hand, like not to like push you back, but just kind of in hesitation and reluctance. He says, better perhaps that he be left alone. Thank you for your generous offer.
I understand. I'll take, I don't know, 5 gold out of my bag and put it in his hand.
Right. He steps towards you, just kind of like gently crowding you backwards, as you do that, and he just steps out into the hall and closes the door behind him. If you gonna give him room to step out, yeah. All right. He, just puts kind of like a placating hand out, and he says, No. That is conscientious of you. Engrog was made an offer which he felt was acceptable. And the fact that it paid for you and your companions as well. And he, kind of closes your hand over the gold. He says, there are few travelers on the road. Let us, this morning, remember an earlier time, when courtesy was the custom.
Shamara swallows hard. Yeah.
Right. Then he nods and he says, like the benediction it is, but one which is very much out of fashion. He smiles and says, safe travels.
I'll remember you.
And I have no doubt you will at some point pay for someone else's stay.
It's a good way to be, Vizaz.
He grimaces a little bit. He appears kind of unconscious of probably how well you can read his expression. So he nods and looks a little bit to the left of your head.
Well, anyway, thanks.
Right. He just folds his hands at his waist and nods again, kind of awkwardly, and then he, unless you stop him, opens the door to go back in.
Do you guys have any wares that might help our journey?
We carry messages only. We are brokers now in information. Is there someone you would like us to speak to? Someplace you would like for us to go?
You said you were heading south, right?
Away from Hytos,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say.
The only thing I can think of is there. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. You are very welcome. Safe Safe travels. He grimaces again, this time at the ground, and he opens the door and goes in, closing it softly behind him.
I'm just gonna step here and do the most gentle rendition of channel energy that we've seen Shamara do lately, which is,
Okay.
or so far, which is just to sit and wish well upon everyone that she can reach in her immediate range. All the living, anyway.
It's a 30-foot thing, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Just okay. Yeah. All right.
And they all take
Cool.
4 points of healing.
Okay. Let's see. All right, just making a quick note here.
Preparing to go underground. I guess it's probably the majority of the planet. Darkness. We only see a part of it and assume that it's all of it.
Shamara gets philosophical there for a moment in the hallway. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, Shamara comes kind of lumbering back down those couple of steps into the hallway there with your room and Belneil's. Orden, he has his door open, across the hall from you, so you can kind of see him. Just like Shamara, he seems to be putting the room back to rights and making the bed, and just kind of leaving no trace there as he gets together his simple belongings that you saw him with the day before. It's weapon, his shield, and checks his things briefly, puts his armor back on, and in the space of a couple of minutes, he's standing outside his own door, right around the time that Shamara comes walking back in. He closes it gently behind him. What are you guys doing?
Okay.
Bellinil, how about, would you like to take lead, obviously? Going underground.
I don't know how this is gonna work.
Yeah. He gives you kind of a sardonic smile. I don't expect either of you brought a rope, did you?
Of course I brought a rope.
I have one too.
Excellent. What kind of adventurers would you be? Alright. So you guys standing there just kind of like flanking the door to the latrine. Alright. He, just, rolls his shoulders a little bit, puts his hand on his axe head for a moment, just kind of patting it reassuringly, and then he puts his other hand like briefly over his chest, and rubs there in a circular motion a couple of times. He says, well, if this is the most unpleasant part, we'll be well served. He looks at Shamara as he walks by. He says, will you brace me? And, gestures for you to hand him a rope.
Of course. It's the least I could do.
Okay.
I'm so grossed out right now.
Yeah. Just think about every campsite pit toilet you've been to.
I
like
know,
rappelling
I
down
know.
into it.
I know.
Before chemical sanitation.
Yeah.
Maybe there's magic sanitation. She has,
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Right.
there's. It's not that bad.
Well, so with the door open, it's worth pointing out that the smell is actually not that strong. And it's not like, you just got 5 or 6 feet down into just, some swampy pool of filth. Clearly, it's a deeper shaft than that. Although the details of that, hopefully will become clearer soon. But Belneal has to kind of like he shifts around a couple of times. There is like a wooden seat that descends over it, and he puts that up, but it's still not an easy fit for a person-sized thing to get through. But he, tries a little bit, and then eventually gets to where he's sort of like sitting on the edge, just face carefully expressionless. And Shamara, you got your rope out? Okay. Then he
Let's leave yours unknotted, and I'll tie a few knots down mine.
Does that to Orden?
Yeah.
Okay.
And and she's like, as she's like tying some to like make it like, I don't know if that'll like help us climb down. But I guess
Okay.
it'll probably take off like 10 feet if it's 50 feet.
Okay. I mean, you can tie some knots. It just take off even I'd say 5 feet's probably conservative, but no problem. So, yeah, if you hand him the other end, then he is just sitting with his feet hanging down, past the knees into the latrine pit there, and he looks down and he says, "Bit of a long drop. Counts for the lack of smell, I suppose." All right, and he takes the rope from you, and feeds just a couple of feet of it, down in there. So there's a knot like below his feet, and then he just.
And I'll grab the one right above his feet, or right above his hands.
Yeah. Okay.
And help him.
All right, and he says, "Looks as if there's a bit of wall this way," and he points basically toward you guys. He says, "I think it'll be slick." And he says, "Right, hold tight if you would. On three, shall we?"
Ready?
Yeah, and I'll go over to help too, just
Okay.
to back up.
Got your candle in one hand, gonna brace her
Oh,
with the other.
yeah, the candle's gone. Oh, that's true. Actually, I'm gonna I'm gonna leave the candle in the room.
Okay.
But then I'm gonna use my light.
Okay. Let's see.
We haven't gotten to see him use any of his psionic powers yet.
Yeah.
I got to use one.
You did? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In the
I used force screen, and then I was trying to use metaphysical weapon, and Arbor was like,
Sorry.
and then Arbor was like, "Oh, you already made your move, you can't do it." And I was just like, "Whatever."
That sounds like me.
Very upset.
oh,
All right, so just remind me, my light is what's the range on that?
So it's 40 feet. So for the first 20 feet, it's normal light, and then I increase the light level for another 20 feet by one step up to normal light.
So would say what, like bright light for
20
40?
feet, and then normal for 20.
Gotcha. Bright light for 20, then dim for another 20 more. Okay.
Mhm.
Got it. Oh, cool. I think I can do that. So let's call it. See if I can give you a sight angle. That'd be a cool man. Shout out to Foundry again with the cool light effects. If this works, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah,
So it's
I
just-
see it dimming out towards the end of the hallway.
Wait a second.
think-
I
Or
meant
maybe
to
that's
have
just
it
darker.
be angled. Sorry, I'm just getting you guys around. Should we play with Foundry a little bit? Side angle. Oh, that's it. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Okay. So let's do that. Then that. Different settings. About now. There we go. So it should just be the way you're facing.
Yeah.
That should pivot with you.
How do I
Can you remind
rotate?
me how to turn my character around?
Yep. So click on your icon, leave the mouse over it, and then hold Shift or Control. They work at different speeds, and spin the mouse wheel.
Okay, thanks. Cool.
Working for you, Ranch?
No, say it again.
So click on the character, yeah, leave the mouse over it, and then hold
Okay.
shift and scroll the mouse wheel.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right, cool.
Alright. So, okay, sorry, I had scooted you guys over because I couldn't click on Orden. But,
Yeah, no
alright, so you're kind of crowding in the doorway there. And then, yeah, as Belneil, he's just on 3, shall we? And Orden comes up, kind of trying to brace Shamara and just get in front of her. And as he does, he like kind of looks at the ground, blinks a couple of times, and then his eyes start to glow softly, and then they emit a brighter and brighter light that lights up the interior of that latrine with kind of painful clarity almost. Belneil like blinks away a couple of times. And he says, "Well done. Suppose that'll help you. Ready?
Ready.
1, 2. Fuck it. Ah!" And he swings down in there. So you, Shamar needs to make a strength check.
Okay.
Can be on a d12. That's my own little house rule. I don't think it's quite as variable as a d20. But, yep, go ahead and make a strength check on there. And he will do the same.
Sorry, just get my windows in order now. Space between the 1d12, right?
Slash rolls, but there you go, you got it.
Wow.
Hey, alright. And what is your maximum push or drag weight?
Maximum, I have that listed here. Is that the last category? So there's 3 categories, 100. It's 201 to 300 is my last category. I don't know if that's my max drag. I don't feel like, isn't it 4 times that or something?
Yeah, so that's actually how much you can carry around, and that the upper limit of that is what you can lift over your head. And then you can what is it? Heavy load. Lift. You can lift double your max load off the ground, and then you can push or drag 5 times your maximum load. So, did you say 300 was your maximum load?
Yeah.
Okay. So you could actually, with a rope, you could drag 1,500 pounds. So there's a little bit of a shock, like when he drops the first time, which is the only thing I wanted you to roll for. But yeah, I mean, Orden, you don't even like feel her lean forward. It's just, she's just like iron there, with her muscles clenched. And the little jolt's nothing. I mean, he's not any 1,500 pound dwarf. So he drops down just out of sight, although not far. You catch him quickly. You can both see and hear the rope slide just hissing over the edge of the latrine for only a couple of feet, and then it stops, and then there's just a sound of like "Ugh," from down there. But he calls out, and he says, "Deep shaft and wide. Seems there's something below. Not steps exactly, but something."
All right. Careful. Let's go down there quick.
Okay. He starts to head down.
Don't go anywhere yet.
Okay.
Wait for us to come down.
All right. He says, "Need a bit more rope."
Oh, okay. I have this rope. You have to tie your rope onto the end of it.
Oh, sorry. No. Like right now, you've only fed out about 15 feet of the rope. The rest is like well behind you because you just let him down, right? He's not. He didn't fall at all. He's just like the end of the latrine. So okay, you start like feeding out the rope. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with your max load, that's not. You don't even have to roll for it. No problem. Hand over hand, slow and steady. And he, for his part, does a pretty good job of keeping the weight consistent. He doesn't, jounce or swing from side to side observably. And then his voice gets progressively further away as you're getting, maybe 30 feet down from where he dropped. You can only hear his voice calling, from some distance. He says, "Found the ledge! Hey, shaft goes down further. That's where all the shite drops. But found the ledge. About this far down. The last one will have to climb it." And then he you can see the rope just move a little bit on the edge of the latrine, like from side to side. And then there's just a very faint kind of sound of exertion. And then the rope kind of slowly, like all the tension comes out of it. And he says, "All's well," from down below.
Last one's gonna have to climb it. Unless we lose our rope, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
That sounds like a risky climb.
Well, the rope is now slack. He's, presumably about 30 feet down there. And what are you guys doing?
Shamar, I can give it a look and see if we can climb on it, but I'd rather not risk it. I'd rather lose rope than lose you, so.
Yeah.
Plus, I think some of it touched some of this piss or anything, so it's probably much garbage already.
I'm not putting that back in my pack.
No way.
All right.
And I'll kind of climb down, and I'll be like, I'll go down next. And then with the knots in place, I'll squeeze through, try not to touch anything as much as possible. As like hard and grizzled as I am, it's still really disgusting.
Sure.
So.
Okay. All right. So you you climb over into the latrine, and Shamara, same way. You're just bracing him.
Wait, let me help me tie it to something before you go down.
What are you tying it to?
I don't know. I'm looking for something to tie it to. And...
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, what's in the? Is there anything in the latrine?
It's a very spare, empty room.
Oh my god, this has gotta be heavy. I'm heavy too.
Yeah, I'm lighter than you. I'm wondering if
you should hold it for me. But we tie it and you hold it.
cool death wish.
But I don't know. What are we gonna tie it to?
Is there in the rooms? Was there maybe like I don't know, a bed or a chest heavy enough or sturdy enough that I could lock it in the doorway?
How much rope do we have left after he got to the bottom?
So he went down about 30 feet. So you got about 20 more outside of the latrine. And it's, I would say make a knowledge engineering check if you have it. But as far as whether the bed's sturdy enough, I don't know. You could certainly tie it to a bed frame. Yeah, inevitably the bed would move across the room, but probably wouldn't clear the door, right?
Jamming one of the knots through the door.
Up to you guys.
I'm just gonna go get a bed.
Okay.
Oh. Shema, I think the only way we get down that safely is either you climb it, or we post a bed up here in the middle, and hopefully it can hold your weight with me helping. So, I think that might be the only choice. Do you want to try and climb?
It's really weird when someone goes to use the toilet.
Well, that's why I'd like to get down there as fast as possible.
Okay. Let's go. You say like jam a bed in a doorway and like tie it around the bed. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go into my room just so if anything down the road, they know it was me. So.
All right. All right, so the bed would be pretty hard to get out of the room, but if you want to just kind of pull it over to the door so it will wedge in the door of the bedroom, you've got enough rope to, get like to have solid 8 or 9 feet to work with just to tie it.
Okay.
Around there.
And then I'd like to go on. I don't want to do the very middle of the bed. I feel like that would be one of the weaker points. I want to do kind of the edges where it feels like it'd be a little bit more sturdier. So whether that be the front or the top. So where that rope isn't just like snapping once all that weight gets put on it.
Okay. All right. So I'll edit the whole map just for that, but we can stipulate that you pull the bed over, try to tie it to one of the legs of the bed, or like the horizontal frame.
The horizontal frame.
Okay, but close to a leg, like where it's got more
close to like where
support.
where it would be the sturdiest.
Okay. All right.
Let's
Orden.
do this inside that closest bedroom, and we jam, like we do that, and then we close the door on the rope, and so the rope is like around the bed and then jammed in the door.
I don't think jamming around. I think that's gonna rip that door.
Okay.
Because once the runs, unless we can tie the rope at the very bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, so so I guess like if we can tie the rope, so it'd be at the very bottom level, and it's not because it's gonna have a lot of tension. If we can't, I'd rather leave the door open because I don't think it'll matter.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'd rather not destroy everything in the room.
Sure.
If possible.
All right. So you drag the bed over so it won't slam into the wall, when the weight gets put on it. And do your best to tie it off there. I don't think it's, I used to love the use rope skill. I thought that was very appropriate in D&D 3.5, but Pathfinder does not have the use rope skill, so I would just say make a dexterity check and tie that knot as best you can.
Can I help him?
Sure. So you should do that on a d20 there, Ranch and Kira. You should also make a dexterity check. If you beat a 15, you'll add 2 to whatever his roll is. Okay. 15 for Orden.
Okay. We're just adding our dex.
Yep. There you go. Okay. So functionally a 17. And you guys, working together, that's a good, like brother and sister moment as Belneil is down through the looking glass. And you guys are standing there, like looking back and forth, kind of like going over to this room, checking out, is this bad? Do you want to close the door? And then finally agree on a plan, go over and tie it together. There's a little bit of, just small bickering back and forth as Orden goes to tie a pretty solid knot. And
like this.
yeah, Shamara's like, well, just wrap it around a couple more times. And he's like, I'm not, it's wrapped enough. It's not
Here,
the
let me do
question.
it.
Like, yeah. But it ends with a slightly better knot than you might have had in the first place. And yeah, it's secure. It is as secure as you guys can make it. So
Okay.
you both stand back, staring at it in the harsh light of Orden's gaze right now, and all the shadows around it are very stark. Just with one bright kind of spotlight type of thing. It just casts this dead black shadow on the ground underneath it, and the shadows shift dramatically whenever Orden moves his head. But you turn and look. There's a lot of slack in the rope, but it's still hanging down the latrine there, and the bed is across the room, wedged right up against the wall, with just the the leg kind of in the door frame, and the rope tied to the frame of the bed right next to the leg.
Okay. You go. I'll brace the rope, and also be testing to make sure that it can hold you, but helping it.
But you're bigger than me. So who's gonna help you when you go down?
Well, you're gonna look for a place, see if I can climb.
Well, all right. I think you should go first.
Was that the stairwell he was maybe it's not as difficult as we are making it. You go. Or I'll go?
Alright. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go.
Because
You
with
brace-
me
brace
and the bed, that's helping you more. And then when I got on, I'm not as big as you, and so hopefully the bed will
Alright.
go. But if you go after me, like you're already gonna be able to hold me, and if the bed works, but then when you get on, it'll be a less.
I'm definitely just being protective of you, and I want to go first. Or when I want you to go first.
So, Shamara, down the tube.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right.
I
Orden,
do
what's
wanna
your
eyeball
strength?
it and see if there's. Oh yeah, let's do that first.
Sorry.
My strength?
Yeah.
18.
18. Oh, you guys are both. That's so your max load is 300 as well. Nice. Please. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Sorry, Shamara, go ahead. You know, kind of run your hand along the clean part of the rope that hasn't gone down to the latrine yet. And you, yeah, get into the room. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll like grab the rope so that it's tense and put my legs on the edge of the inside and try and shimmy myself down there.
Gordon?
I'll be making sure that the rope is like taut, like everything is kind of good, and then, I guess Shamar, are you having the slack? Right, like I guess the rope's hanging down,
It's
so
hanging down already,
you're just kind of shimmying it. So I'm kind of just
bracing it.
ready to grab at a moment's notice. But if she's like going down, then slowly like let my grip slowly fade from the rope and just see if it holds.
All right. Items can make saves as well, but I believe, is this a silk rope or a hemp rope?
Hemp.
Yeah. That's interesting. I feel like this is something that I would have always looked up in the past and thought there would be a chance to use, but no longer know what the actual weight capacity is of that.
The great news is this is going to take 10 pounds off of my carrying capacity. Or my carrying weight.
Saying,
Bad news is we have 50 feet less of rope.
let's... Okay. Alright. So, you, start to lower yourself down the hole. So, Shamara, make a climb check. And I guess, Orden, I'm not going to make you make a strength check yet because you're just kind of maintaining the tension, but obviously ready to spring if something starts to crack in the bed frame or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, alright, go for it, Shamara.
Oh, AC check.
Or, climb check.
AC penalty. Or check penalty. That's for climb and stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're not good at that.
I was like, why is it saying -2? What's the error here? Oh, that's not an error at all.
Yep, armor check penalty. It happens.
Alright.
Okay. Alright. So, you lower yourself down. The bed, Orden, I mean, as she goes down, you, keep your hands, like, right on the rope, looking back and forth from the latrine with the door open to the bed that's, now being pulled pretty hard against the wall. You can hear it creak, and you can hear the wood groan a little bit. But aside from just hearing like sound, there's no splintering, no cracking, anything like that. And you, keep glancing back and forth with some tension. But Shamara, you descend. You see, I mean, as you come into the actual pit here, and not in the light of Orden's gaze. It takes a moment for your eyes to adjust, and when you swing down, yeah, there is a wall pretty much right in front of you. So if you're facing Orden, as you go down latrine, you have to kind of like shimmy and scrape through, which is arguably the worst part because you gotta have your like arms, and sides along the edge of the hole of the latrine. But it is just bare wood, and it hasn't been used a lot recently. So when you come down, your feet find pretty quickly in front of you a wall, so that you can like rappel as much as actually just have to climb a rope, freestanding. And so you can use that to sort of brace yourself. It's not hard for you. I mean, both of you have like Olympian strength, so holding yourself up is not a big deal, right? Even with all of your weight and armor and equipment. So you start to just slowly go down, hand over hand, letting the horizontal pressure of the wall take a little bit of the pressure. You do notice, a couple of things. First of all, there is a shaft that is narrow up here and widens precipitously. It disappears into darkness pretty much all around you, except you can see that the wall in front of you stays pretty consistent. It's smooth, but not like cut or worked stone. So with just simple ripples, and a lot of stains, presumably from many years, and it is faintly moist, but it's not, this in like pretty much any other roadside stop cannot have been well frequented, at least by the living, for the last couple of years. So it's actually just kind of the innate moisture and dampness of the underground here, not like actual active piss stains on the walls, from down here. So it is kind of slippery, and the stains are gross, but it's not as bad as it might be. The smell, unfortunately, gets stronger as you go down, because you must be getting closer to whatever the bottom of that shaft is, but with 60-foot dark vision, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. With that, you don't actually see the bottom. You just see the roughly smooth stone wall in front of you. The edges of this shaft kind of disappearing off to both sides. Complete blackness behind you, and mostly blackness below, although you also see what Belneil had mentioned. So to your right, there is basically just a set of kind of like dug out handholds in the wall that move like on a diagonal up there. Yeah, they're not steps like he said, but they have been pretty deliberately worked into the stone here, and they have been made smooth with time and presumably use. It's like a crooked ladder almost that someone could, with some risk to their own safety, climb up and get in via the latrine here. But it's a bizarre way to get routine access anywhere, and certainly no one has made this place easily accessible. So also down and to your right, if you follow the line of those kind of handholds that are dug in, you can see just a stone outcropping that comes out horizontally from the wall. And about 20 feet down from you now, you can see Belneil standing there. There's a slope of basically just like a walkway that goes along this stone wall, down and off into the darkness to your right. He is collected himself, and he's kind of alternately looking up at you as you come down, and then just, swinging his bald head and surveying the darkness out around you. So you climb down pretty methodically, and you get to where you're more or less on a level with him. Your arms are starting to burn, but you've worked harder than this above ground, just supporting yourself. So both of you are the types of people who could just hang mid-pull-up for a solid 90 seconds or so it's not too hard. And you could just kind of walk your way over. You have to swing a little bit to get there, but go ahead and make an acrobatics check. The DC is 5 with the rope, so it's not hard to do. Absent catastrophe, you're probably okay. Your armor check penalty, of course, does apply. Okay. So you kind of like walk that way, and then you have to walk back. He's just a little bit out of reach, and he sees you, and he kind of like braces one shoulder against the wall and then holds out like one hand, to try to reach for you. And you have to. The rope just doesn't like swing that way very well, and the wall is slick enough that you don't have traction, so you kind of back up. And just holding yourself just by main strength on the rope and using your feet to walk along the wall, you kind of like swing back away from him a little bit and then take several steps, like running steps toward him, and try to just jump, and you end up pushing yourself off of the wall more than toward him, and you just careen out into space. You have this horrible, sickening moment when you realize you're going away from him and not towards him. You should make a reflex save, and so will he.
So I've let go of the rope at this point?
Yeah,
Or-
trying to go over there and grab his hand.
D&D.
It was the right move, but just hard armor. Reflex save.
At least I'll be able to buy a reflex save if I survive. Okay, sorry.
All right. And yeah, all right. So you kind of go just careening away from him. You have that
midair, like
like lurching, terrified moment. You just reach out, scrambling for the edge of the stone. You don't quite catch it. You're going the wrong way, but he grabs you and kind of pulls you in, and you end up just grabbing the stone and sliding down, like blood coming out from under your fingernails, and just clinging to the stone with every muscle you have. You grab the edge of that little like outcrop that he's on and stop your fall, leaving like bits of dust and like actual like nail marks in the stone. So you're just holding there, and he shouted inarticulately, and then he goes over. You're just like a foot below him, and he goes and just grabs like the collar of your armor and starts to haul upward and pull you up. So with his help, you can take 10 and take your time and go slowly, and he grabs you and pulls you up.
A shout. I'm okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Orden, yeah. I mean, you hear that, like the tension goes off of the rope, and then you hear just like, oh, and then like some muffled scrambling. But that's it. No, the rope is gone slack.
I like peer down,
Okay.
like through the toilet real quick and be like,
Yeah.
You make it.
Yeah. Yep.
You can see her like scrambling up and just kind of like rolling the last, bit of her weight up onto that little platform off to the side. And Belniel looks up and immediately kind of squints away just from the like headlights, basically, at the top of the shaft there. And then he says, "Getting off's the hardest part. Just go slow. I'll catch you."
I'm gonna hold on to the end of the rope now, so that when he's climbing down, he's climbing down to me, and I also want to have hold of it in case what's above him gives out.
Okay. Good call. All right, so you gotta kind of reach and try to get it, but with you working together, I mean, yeah, like, or you can kind of flick the rope over to her, so it's not hard to do. All right. So you're gonna kind of climb at a little bit of a curve, basically coming down that rope towards her. But you can see her, having it off to one side, and you're now the last one in the quiet and dark inn.
I'll take one last look around.
Okay.
All right. And shimmy on down this terrible little hole.
Okay. Make a climb check, as she did.
Oh no!
Bruh. Oh! Alright. So,
A bunch of butter on my hands before I got on the rope.
alright. We'll narrate it, and once we know what happens, make a reflex save. It's going to be kind of a high DC on that.
Oh my god.
Dude, Foundries, man, cannot promote this.
I miss my lucky dice, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I can, like, put my will and intention into them and then roll it. I can't really. Maybe I can.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. Here we go.
DC was 20. I mean, I said that one was going to be hard.
Oh my god.
All right. So,
Oof.
all right, Orden, you so you start to climb down, just telling yourself slow and steady, right? You get down, you kind of ease yourself through that close and disgusting part where you're actually squeezing through the latrine
You
itself.
actually do get butter on your hands.
And yeah, that's the smell again is not that bad, but it gets a little worse when you go through. You see the stained wall and the moisture that just generally coats it. You drop down, like dropping your feet onto that wall, and they immediately just slip. You just don't impact the way that you thought you would, and you reach up. It's exactly the wrong move, but before you can think better of it, you try to just reach up and grab the edge of the latrine as your feet slide out from under you. You end up letting go of the rope, and you have that horrible, sickening, just disappearing into empty space feeling, and you blindly reach out and try to grab the rope. You just catch hold of it, and it slides a solid 18 inches through one hand, and you just have to hold on and bear it, but that pain is infinitely better than just the open blackness that surrounds you on three sides. You take 1 damage as the rope just slides through your hand. You hit the knot, and then just reach up and grab the rest of it, and he's just like free swinging up there, Shamara, overhead, as you and Belniel both kind of can't help but gasp and exclaim suddenly as he swings loose. Okay, Charles would like to sympathize with your plight. And it's just got errant cat paw here. So,
It's adorable.
but hey, all right. So you're just like out in space there, but you catch yourself, hanging just by both hands, ignoring the pain and a little bit of blood that starts running down your wrist. And what do?
I'm alright. Fuck. Yeah, as I try and reset and just like wrap both feet around, so where I'm like secure and I do the rope foot move where one is over the other, so I'm like, alright, I'm stable now.
That's alright. I would have caught you.
And then like slowly, as slow as I can now, because I don't want to be on this rope now at all. Like I don't want to be down here. Fuck the latrine. Like I'm like, of course I head down here. I'm pissed off. So just like inch down as slow as I can.
Okay. All right. So at that point you can, I guess. I mean, well, no. So you failed the climb check by the reflex save. It's alright. With the rest of them, just going hand over hand, ankle over ankle, down that way. You descend the rest of the way, and Shamara has pulled it over, so when you release with your feet, you're already over the stone walkway, and you can just kind of let go. Your hands do that thing where, like, you open them, and then they just kind of stay like that, and they're, like, real tense, and you gotta kind of, like, bend them back. And you do see this raw red mark right down the middle of your right hand that is actually bleeding kind of at the bottom end, but it's
Mara squeezed
better
you
than
a
mine.
little too hard.
Okay.
You took another point of damage.
Right.
Well, death by latrine, that would have been embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's not your everyday latrine.
Belniel is just staring at you with some concern. Well, that's poor luck, but well recovered. As I say, I hope that's the worst we have to deal with here. Are you right? Can we be on our way?
Let's go, I'm ready.
And he turns and looks down just the narrow walkway that runs along the side of the rock face here, and disappears into the darkness for all of you. And he, well, wishing for the best, of course, but he tugs his axe out of the loop on his belt, and he, grabs the haft and just walks with it low in one hand, and starts to walk down the passage into the dark.
That's gonna look really weird later. Follow him.
Won't be hard to tell where you guys went.
Where'd they go?
Alright, for a little over an hour in, let's just take a quick break here, buy our break, grab drinks and stuff. We will be right back in just a moment. Alright, and we're back. So you guys have come down and successfully navigated the not bottomless, but very, very wide open latrine in the starlight here, and arrived on this little shelf of rock a little bit off to the side, where there are, as previously described, visible handholds that would go back up and would make a very awkward and pretty dangerous ladder for anyone to climb, kind of at an angle to approach the way back up. But you guys have left a knotted rope, just dangling down, absent other ideas, and as Orden said, he'd rather lose a rope than a companion here. So you guys just see the rough rock wall kind of to your left, and then just this gently sloping stone walkway down into the dark in front of you, and just open darkness to your right, and a sense of great space around you. So Elniel had started to, absent other things to do, he had started to descend, axe in his hand, and pack kind of bouncing up and down on his back. What are you guys doing?
I'll go second. Just kind of follow behind him.
Okay.
I'll take your card.
I'll still have my cone eyes coming out. So.
Okay.
I want to be third and be an extra step behind him, and not far away, but it's 40 feet. That's a long way. No, I'll just stay right by him.
Okay. All right. So you guys descend. Both of you make perception checks. Belniel will do the same. Also, quick shout out to Cloister, the artist who made this as a part of a dungeon series. You can see the credit and his website down at the bottom of the image. He is available on DeviantArt if you like his work. All right.
We are unable to see.
Oh. You don't see his little credit at the bottom?
Well, I don't have vision.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. There we go. Learning more about Foundry all the time. I know why. Here we go. There you go.
There we go.
All right.
Thank you, Cloister.
Sure. So, all right. So you guys descend into the dark. Shamara, still need the perception check from you.
Roger that.
Orden is as good at perceiving as he is at climbing right now.
Cool.
So, yeah. All right. Okay. So it's difficult to say much other than it's dark. The path here, and it is a path. It's really difficult to interpret it as something that was not deliberately carved out. You can't see, chisel marks or anything along the way. There aren't any bricks, but it's possible that over time, whatever marks of this deliberate carving have been worn away. But it is very unlikely, it feels to you guys that such a clear, reliably 5 foot wide walkway would just descend along the edge of what must be a pretty good sized cavern. But you descend. And it's difficult to say how far. It feels very far. I mean, you walk for at least 100 yards, then 200, tending a little bit to the right, curving inward the whole time, then straightening out again, then tending a little bit to the left. You are not at all confident that you're walking toward Hytos, but there is just literally nowhere else to go. And you go for what must be another 100 yards and another. The curves around become very difficult to track without any, objective point to look back at. And the yawning darkness off to your right is too easy to populate with all manner of unseen things. And you feel very much the way that someone would feel if you were out treading water somewhere and someone mentioned to you that you were in 1,000-foot deep water. Not that necessarily anything is right below you, but just the yawning opening of space unseen around you. So time passes. Belniel just marches ahead stoically, and I guess you can renew your light spell whenever you want to, Orden. So as you guys continue downward, it just gets further and further below, further and further from the dim sun that is above. It's more than an hour with this curving around back and forth. And again, on net, it's very difficult to say which direction you're facing when finally you come not to a clear flat ground, but where there start to be these big kind of spiky rock outcroppings around you and to the right. And then the wall to your left sort of eases down gently over the course of several hundred feet, and you see other kind of protrusions out that way, and you come into what feels very much like a rocky sort of forest. Both of you, whether with light or in the dark, see things even growing here. There is a lot of dampness around you and occasional puddles that are pretty fragrant. It's a musky, deep sort of smell for which you don't have much of an analog, but there are big patches of moss and lichen. There are, in places around these kind of pools that seem to form at the top of these rock outcroppings, even some type of Shamara, you wouldn't be able to see them as brightly colored if it weren't for Orden's actual light, adding color to the things he glances at, or at least towards. But it is a place that has its own sort of life. Not maybe very jolly, but its own fecund, reeking life. And as you come into it, seeing these big rocks and spikes loom up on either side, you have a sense of them, and particularly when Orden glances up, of similar, stalactites dropping down above you. And Belniel walks, maybe 100 feet into that, and then he just kind of slows down, glancing back at you and kind of squinting away anytime that Orden looks at him directly. But, he just glances back. Well, that's bottom, I suppose. For now, anyway. You both well?
You said that's bottom?
I'm doing alright. Any idea how far we've gone?
Not really. But I can say we're maybe a quarter mile under the surface.
It's like a church. It's so beautiful. Life everywhere.
It makes me sorry I can't remember any of my own people's stories. It's just fragments of others. Valora, the Unrepentant. They're all very L3 feathers. The elf who came to visit my people unintentionally. I feel as though I should know more about these things. I feel as though I do. Can't tell you what, though. Any more than I can tell you how important it is that I get to Hytos. Which, is that way. And he points actually off to the left. I mean, for you guys, your sense of direction down here is more or less shot, but he seems confident.
Great. Let's keep going.
How far away overland was Haitos from where we were? Do you know?
You're asking Belneil?
Or like if we know?
I don't know, not having travelled it myself, but my understanding was perhaps 2 days. 2 days walk, just across the open country.
Okay.
Hard to say if it'll be faster or, well, seems likely slower. This might be as close as we come to open country here.
Well, from the meadows to the forest to the caves we go.
Indeed.
Hopefully, it stays like this.
Hey,
We're ready for it to probably not be the case though.
he shrugs. It's nice to see some place anyhow. Likely much as it was, since even before the cataclysm. Lack of sunshine doesn't change much down here. Best be off though. He just draws a quick deep breath. He starts handling the direction he pointed.
Follow.
Alright. So,
This would be actually a really special place for Shamara because she worships the planet.
Yeah.
And this is such a place of interconnected thriving that she hasn't seen in a long time. So it's probably pretty positively emotional for her.
so both of you make survival checks.
Oh. We're nailing it today.
Okay. Alright. Well, you guys continue. And the terrain is very difficult to recognize. It's alien. It feels completely different. And Shamara, to your point, you don't understand what's going on around you necessarily, but you recognize these things for what they are. Every strange smell is a spore or a pheromone. It's the sounds and the smells and the visual evidence of life is impossible to ignore. Every strange odor is one fungi talking to another, trying to spread itself out across the cave floor or sending some chemical signal that was not meant for your nose to understand. But it is, reminds you that in a very real sense, the basic unit of life is the ecosystem. And this one, unlike the one above ground, is very much intact. Occasionally you hear small things splashing through pools or puddles nearby, but when Orden looks that way, they've already gone out of sight, and several of them are even further in the darkness than Shamara or presumably Belneil's eyes can pick up. I had this image in my head, very much like a Lord of the Rings shot, of just like you guys seen from a great height, just this one little flickering cone of light, wandering through a wide, dark abyss. And
A drop of bioluminescence in the darkness off.
Sure. Yeah.
That's cool.
And alright. And make fortitude saves, both of you.
I had made hotkey.
Um, okay. So you guys, you continue on, and as you range over terrain that is, like I said, alien and difficult to interpret, in very basic ways, it is familiar. There are hills, there are valleys, there are ravines, and as you pass hour after hour through the populated but very shy darkness, things skitter away from you. Things occasionally flap and chitter overhead. The wild and often as not, pale, white, ghostly, or brightly and dangerously colored fungi and other growing things down here uh, answer your gaze with blank indifference. You pass through long, narrow trenches with high stone walls visible on either side, and across broad, open expanses, some of which are heavily populated, some of which are blank and open, like deserts. The life changes around you every couple hundred yards as the elevation shifts, and it's difficult to understand the broader picture, of course, being only able to see in a very small circle around yourselves, but you do get pieces of it. As you're going, both of you would be aware, as presumably as Belneil, of the kind of strange smells and textures having some effect on you. You get tired of a lot of it, but there's not really a way to avoid it. It slows you down a little bit, and after a couple of hours of walking through it, Shamara, you can still keep going, but let's see, what's the actual term for this? You are technically sickened. So it's a -2 on attack, damage, and saves, and skill checks. So
Sickening.
you, I mean, it's weirdly, I mean, as you mentioned, it is certainly a pretty joyous experience for Shamara seeing a functioning ecosystem, but it's so alien to you that, I mean, it just makes you kind of nauseous, and your head spins a little bit as you walk. It's nothing you can't endure, but it is too alien for your body to respond to very well. Belneil ahead also seems similarly affected. He keeps pausing to hawk up big gobs of phlegm and spit them off to the side, but he similarly powers on, occasionally wiping his eyes or sneezing. And only Orden, I mean, yeah, you're feeling it too, but it's not debilitating for you. You're just a little sick, eyes watering from time to time, but that's all. So, all right, make one more fortitude save. Yeah. All right. Then, all right. After it's really very difficult for either one of you to tell time down here. It's got to be hours. You've covered miles underground, just in stoic, occasionally wondering, occasionally frightened silence. And things have passed on all sides, more things than you've seen. You're all very well aware. And at one point, as you're crossing just a broad open area that has sloped down rather precipitously and been covered in some sort of tall, kind of mushroom-like things that spread their kind of spory arms around 10, 12 feet overhead. It's Belneil sort of stops up ahead, just pausing, not really breathing heavily, but quickly and kind of shallowly. And his face looks a little pale. Orden, you are sickened. Shamara, you are sickened and fatigued. And he just stops, kind of looking around, and then he glances up at Shamara, and then a little bit, kind of, Orden, he glances kind of like at your elbow, just because, you know, your eyes are hard to look at, and he says, it can't be bloody good for us. Shall we stop for a bit? I don't know how far we've gone, but surely that's got to be good progress by any measure.
Could you stop? What about you, Shamar?
Yeah. Stopping in what's making us sick might not make us feel better, but there's not really an alternative right now, is there?
Well, I wish I could say my dad told me, or something similar. Perhaps he did. But... And he pats the rubbery stalk of one of the, 12-foot mushrooms next to him. He says, these shed their skins. They burn well enough. The smoke's easier. It clears off some of the rest. We could make a camp here, if we could find enough scraps lying about. Perhaps take some rest.
I won't say no to that, although I'd rather get out of this place as fast as possible.
Well, to do that we need rest.
Aye, that's wisdom. I'll find a few. Don't know the best way to get them going, but I'm sure we'll find a fire eventually. Yeah, have either of you flint?
Oh, I've got you right here.
Well done. Surprised I didn't think to bring any on my own. If only I could remember what I'd begun. Well, back in a moment. And he, covers one nostril and just shoots another, snot rocket off at the side, and he wanders off into the darkness, looking around and very quickly bending down to scoop up some thin husks of cast off, call it bark, from these things.
Well, I'll take a different route and look for some more.
Okay. It doesn't take long. I mean, in the space of 10 minutes, you guys can collect a couple of armfuls of this, dried, sort of flaky, white substance that feels kind of heavy. Not as heavy as wood, maybe, but dry enough to burn anyway, and often in sort of cast-off concentric rings around the larger of these big growing stalks. So, you guys can come back to where Orden is pretty easy to spot, and somebody needs to beat 10 on a survival check to get a fire going, but you can also take 10 with a flint and steel, so if Orden's got some, you can get it going.
The survival check to get it going.
Okay. That's fine too. Alright. So, yeah, Orden, they just dump piles of the stuff. And just following the basic rules of fire, not particularly knowing your fuel, but it's not too hard, with a blade to just shave off some pieces of it to make kindling the same way you would if you were trying to get an ember going with, wood shavings or something like that. It only takes you a couple of tries to kind of get the hang of it and understand a little bit better how it'll catch and burn. So, really, just less than 15 minutes from stopping the walk, you guys find yourself around a very small flame as Orden carefully adds, shaved pieces of it to build it up into a proper campfire under the overhang of one of these tall, bizarrely muscular-looking fungi.
That would be so cool to see.
Yeah. Had a visual for it somewhere, but
All right, rest until we feel better? Keep going? Or take a sleep?
Yeah, people need to sleep. I think here might be better than anywhere else.
Alright.
Just take turns watch.
You seem like you're feeling okay.
I mean, better than falling down a latrine hole. I don't know.
That'll be the worst way to start any day, I would think. Couldn't have gone that far, really, though. I mean, we smelled it, didn't we?
100, 200 feet, I don't know. The thing was...
Far enough.
Or when you get to where you can prop up a couple of, roughly semicircular pieces of that cast off from the mushrooms and let them actually start to take a meaningful blaze, from the little fire you've started. And with that, you can sit back a little. Belneal's kind of plain face, red beard, reflect the firelight a little bit less than, his bald head. And then he glances back and forth between you and Shamara. And he says, bit late for me to ask you, because I didn't want to frighten you off. But, thankful as I am that you're helping me on my way to Hytos. And insistent as I am that it needs doing. Must say I'm a bit surprised. Willing to go with me. And by such an uncomfortable route. You're obviously not seasoned here. And if I am, that's just by instinct. And he seems like he starts to go further, and then he just shrugs and he says, why are you helping me?
It was such... I don't know if you believe in coincidences or not, but I'm at a point in my life where I just don't really think anything is a coincidence. And we were running from a storm. We could have been walking on that road. Instead, we were running. And we come upon you. And you're a dwarf. I don't know when the last time I've seen a dwarf. Not every fight you get to see where there's a clear good guy and bad guy. But that felt like one of them.
Well, if I'm a dwarf, I'm not much of one. The ages of the mad god being after me. Sorry.
It's not every day you get the chance to do such good.
Well. Good was once a more relative thing. But when you got creatures of the mad god after you, suppose it speaks well. He narrows his eyes and looks across the fire at Orden. He says, you?
Oh, it's not about that. I follow her pretty much, so I kind of had no choice. I like you right enough. You're fine, but if it were just me, I probably wouldn't have come down here. But seeing as I am down here, you're one of us for now.
Hmm. Oh, and he looks at Shamara. He says, I understand folk being fond of one another. But unless I'm very much mistaken, I don't think it's common for someone to risk plummeting hundreds of feet into a shite pit that might drown him just because someone else was going that way.
It's the twin bond.
I know. You can't tell at first sight.
No second or third.
That's my sister. Plus, I've already tried to leave her a couple times, and she's threatened to beat the shit out of me. So here we are.
Well,
Finds the sad affably enough. It's good to have some company.
I hate those creatures, the Mad God. They feel like an affront to the balance of everything that has existed before it.
Oh, reckon they are. Seems to be the whole point. Since the Archon came, and the sky's darkened. Oh, if you're sitting up above, it might feel like the end of all things.
It's trying that hard to stop you. You must be doing something right.
Well, since we're here, and I don't expect that you'll be trying to go back the way we came. I may as well tell you, it's not so much I think what I'm doing, as what I've got. Now, as I said, don't properly know how I got it, but I have a sense that I agreed to that. That the knowledge might be dangerous. Not knowing what it is, though, doesn't make it any less obvious to me that it's important. And he kind of shifts in his leather and mail, and kind of, takes off the big, heavy. Wow. The word escapes me, and that's terrible. But basically, yeah, takes off the torso and shoulders of his armor, and sets it down, and he just has a big padded jacket on under that.
Is it
And
pauldrons?
he has a. What's that?
Or is it pauldrons
The
you're thinking?
pauldrons are the shoulders. It's basically chainmail is functionally what he's wearing, but it's like leather shoulders with just chain over that, but it's all of a piece. And so he takes that off, kind of laboriously, and he just has a thin padded jacket on under that. And when he does that, you actually can see a little bit of light from under the vest or under the jacket. So it'd be his right, your guys' left. So not where his heart is, but on the other side of his chest. And he unbuttons the jacket and pulls it back, and you can see on his chest there is well, there's not a good word for it, but something has been inserted, buried, grafted to his chest. It only comes out a very small way, but it's maybe 8 or 10 inches tall. It's roughly elliptical, and it's glowing a deep kind of burnished red gold. It looks as much as anything like an egg. It's hard and looks like it has some kind of like patterned scales and is set most of the way into his body, basically where one of his lungs should be. And even in the firelight is emitting some very faint light, and you can both tell warmth.
You're incubating this thing.
So you see what I mean? It's even not remembering. I have a sense that it's rather important. You don't recognize that, do you? He says kind of hopefully.
May I roll a knowledge, nature, or religion?
Knowledge nature, you certainly can.
Okay.
I mean, neither one of you really would know more specifically than he said. Yeah, I mean, it sure looks like an egg of some kind, scaly, but yeah, hard to say beyond that. Oh well, he says, kind of buttoning up his arming jacket again. It's important I get where I'm bound.
Oh, if Shemai here says we'll take you, we'll take you. And like I said, you're one of us now. At least until we reach that destination.
I've got a good feeling about helping you.
Good. I have a bloody good feeling about being helped. But, as you say, best we keep watches. The dead could be down all round, perhaps, without us knowing.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess
if y'all don't mind, I'll sleep first. Rest my eyes. Been a lot of light lately.
Right, sure. I'll keep a watch. See to yourselves. I'll wake you when I reckon it's time.
Don't go wandering off.
Small chance of that. I'll tend the fire is all.
Yeah, I'll get my pack, and there's a wall or like a little, place I can prop it up to.
Mostly just the trunk of that big mushroom.
Nah,
Yeah.
but I'll get my pack so where I can like kind of set it up and then kind of rest my head on it, and then
Okay.
have my sword out though,
Okay.
and like prepare position. So kind of sleep with that, like I'm holding on to it tight.
Okay.
I look for a clean cloth or something, in my pack to just like kind of cover my face with.
Do you have one?
Let me see. But yeah, I settle down for sleep too. No, I don't. Unless trail rations come with napkins.
They do not. Alright.
I've just got my cold weather clothes, so I guess I'll just like bring up something like to like kind of
Sure.
cover my face up.
Yeah. Do the Republican mask thing.
Oh my.
Like,
Cover my face and mouth.
That's right. Okay. Alright. Sounds good. Then you guys settle in. I have some stuff on that, but I know we're on a time crunch tonight, so I would suggest we pause here. I think this is a reasonable stopping point, and you guys have covered a lot of ground, made progress, survived the drop into the poop pit, which is an ignominious way to go if it did happen. So, well done. Let's see. We will do experience allocation and that kind of stuff here afterward, but we're not going to drag everybody through the nitty-gritty of the bonsai system. But as always, if you are interested, then you can go to our website when we have it up. It is in the works right now, but hopefully by the time we publish this, we will be able to add a link to that and see some details about the still developing bonsai system, the play testing of which you are now witnessing. So otherwise, thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time in the next episode of the Dust Storm.